Welcome to another episode of Career Mode. Today we have a game against Liverpool, and today it is the first episode in January where we can start to try and sign more players again. And I guess because I didn't really speak in the last couple episodes about the England games, I'm going to do a little bit of talking over the top, and so we will only play this one game today. This is going to be the team we're going to use today. It's not the greatest team. A lot of players are quite tired because we had short space in between these two games that we've recently played. I've had to put Larson on the bench and Oviedo. I've got Kone to come on when Mary gets too tired. And right back wise, I might just have to slot somebody like Watmore in, because I was looking at the right backs we have, and Jones and Donald Love and Robson are pretty much all terrible. So I'll see what we can do during the game, but I'm going to sort of stick to this team. And we still obviously don't have Musonda because he's still injured, so we're going to have to go with Januzaj there with Correa on that side. Iheanacho is on the... I'm going to put him on the bench too, but he is also pretty tired. Sunderland against Liverpool is our game today, and it's the only game we're going to play today. As I already explained, I'm just going to do the one game because I want to talk a little bit about the England games and I guess the problems that England face at the moment, or I guess they're problems that the media sort of create. But I think one thing that people need to... I'm going to go straight into this one. I think that one thing people need to sort of realise with England is that whilst we have arguably the best league in the world in the Premier League, is it the best quality, and is it the best in terms of producing English players that can help us? And in reality, I would say it isn't. Because you look at where the England players play, and yes, they're at these big clubs, but they're not the main... I've always said it before. They're not the main player in that club, in the squad. You know, you look at the top, well, let's say top 6 teams in England. Let's just go from last season's top 6 in the Premier League, or I guess this season, because it's only just really finished. But you look at Chelsea, the best player, or the best 2 or 3 players, you'd say probably Hazard, Kante and Costa. None of them are English. You look at Man United, I know that's not the next one down, but Man United, their best player last season, you could say, was probably Ibrahimovic, just how well he scored the goals for them. And obviously one of their expensive players that they're looking to do well for them next season is Pogba, who's French. You look at, again, I'd say for their next best player, you could say is... Oh, well, De Gea, obviously, I always forget about him when I'm talking about Man United. But yeah, De Gea, they're arguably the best goalkeeper in the league, or at least probably even the world. Look at Real Madrid, always want to try and sign him. And you can just go down the list. None of them are the top players at these top clubs. Arsenal, it's definitely not, because they got Sanchez, Ozil, and I guess, I don't know, their third best player, you could say, probably Cazorla. I know he didn't really play last season, but you ask most Arsenal fans and they say like they missed Cazorla most last season out of the, you know, the players that they could have had in that squad. You go on to Liverpool, like, I know their captain is Jordan Henderson, but is he like their top 3? Because, you know, you got Firmino, you got Coutinho, you got Mane. Then, you know, none of them are English again. So it's just, I think that is a key issue, is that the best clubs in England have good English players, but they're not the best players in those clubs. And Correa has just been played through by Ndong. I'm trying to get him into a good position here, and that was a poor idea from me pass-wise. Defoe! Oh, powerful in that shot. On target. That's got to be a foul. Oh, I want the free kick, really. Defoe's there. Can you score, Defoe? Saved again by the keeper. Correa's there. Can he score? Saved again by Mignolet. Oh, no, it's not. I thought it's Karius in goal, apparently. I thought it was Mignolet. Correa scored, Defoe. Oh, it's gone all the way through. An issue that I always find that annoys me with English football is they always moan on TV and pundits and the media. They always moan that it's a lot to do with the coaches in England, and that the coaching system in the youth systems isn't that great in England. But in terms of who is in those systems, there's not a lot of ex-professional footballers from, like, you know, England and Wales and wherever. And you look how well Wales have done recently, where they have had that, well, they've had a very good team bond, and they've obviously got one of the best players in the world on their team in Gareth Bale, who's, you know, better than any player in the England squad by far. But in terms of how the coaching system in England, that's half time, by the way, I'll continue what I'm saying, but the way that the media, especially pundits, football pundits, they always go on about how this coaching at these youth academies are not great and how they don't teach these players X, Y, and Z. Well, why don't you go and coach in them? You know, you're the ex-footballer. You have one of the most intelligent football brains compared to anyone in the country, and you're reusing it to be on TV and earning more money that you've already earned from playing years of football in the professional level. You just want to pad your wallet, and you don't really care about the situation football-wise. All you care about is your wallet and moaning about how England don't produce these players because it's the coaches. Well, go out there and help coach. You look at the Netherlands, and I know it's not a great example recently because they didn't qualify for the Euros, and they're, I think, third in their qualifying group for the World Cup at the moment. And they're sort of hitting a low in their development and their history as a nation at football. But, you know, in the past, well, they've won as many international tournaments as England. I mean, they've not won the World Cup, but they've won the Euros. And, you know, there's always these ex-pros in Holland or in the Netherlands that always manage to go and work for Ajax. They get paid very little, but all they want to do is learn and make their way up the coaching pyramid and become either, you know, to do something in their football club. Especially, you know, look like Dennis Bergkamp. He's some sort of business person at Ajax. But then you've got Mark Overmars. I think he's director of football now. And you've got Patrick Kluivert, and there's loads of managers that have sons in these academies as well, and they want to coach their kids, I guess, as well. But they also just want to help, you know, the younger players in that nation. And you look how well they've done as a nation for such a small nation compared to England. You know, they have produced far better players in the recent years. And McNair's won it in midfield. Can I play it to Defoe? No, that's a terrible pass from McNair. So Defoe. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. I guess to sort of fulfill that argument that I'm talking about with the former players, they have in other cultures and other countries, they have these former players that are really rich and they've earned a lot of money in their career, and they go, and sometimes they do it for free because they want the development of themselves as a player and a person. Wow, that's an interesting tackle, McNair. But they want the development of themselves as a coach because they want to stay in the game for longer. If they're just moaning about it on TV, they're not in the game. They're outside the game looking in. And I'm going to make some subs here because a lot of my players are tired. Pinar's coming on. Kone can come on. And he's got not much energy left, so I'll put Soro on the right-hand side. But you look at former players, like English players, and a lot of them have sort of done most of their coaching awards, and they don't use them, or they just go and try out for a little bit, and then they realise that actually it's probably better to use their millions and just sit on the beach. So they don't really, they've spent their time in football, and fair play to them, they've earned their money, and they're just going to do what they want to do. And Asoro is all the way up the other side of the pitch, but he does get onto it, but it's a bad touch, and James Milner catches up with one of our fastest players somehow. Just as an aside, like you see players on TV and they say like they would go into coaching, but they have some sort of like flimsy reason as to why, and a lot of these Premier League clubs that have academies, they do pay their coaches. They don't pay them, amazingly well, but they probably pay them more than sort of the national average wage in the UK, and they should be happy with that. They're still earning money in football. They could just be earning no money. And the problem is the TV companies give them so much money. And I don't see why they can't sort of do 50-50. Maybe they take up a unpaid or maybe, you know, just part-time paid role with one of the younger teams at maybe their nearest Premier League club. So they can still go up, you know, up to Manchester or wherever and do match of the day. But they can also go and help part-time these coaches and sort of give them an insight into how they grew up as a player and how they worked as well. And maybe that might help us as a country try and produce these players that sort of are, you know, tactically very strong and skillful and have, you know, 6 or 7 aspects to their game that they're very good at. Because at the moment, a lot of players in England are sort of one-directional, and they sort of, it's either I'm going forward now, so I'm going to go forward, or you know, it's just attack, attack, attack. There is no sort of middle ground between any of our games, and that's a goal from Firmino. And I don't know how that ball got through. Where's my defence? Okay, that is the end of the game. As you can see, the game was so even there, and they had the same as us and everything. They just got one chance that was right near the end of the game, and yeah, I mean, look at the areas of the pitch. It was so even. I don't know how. I mean, pass accuracy was pretty much identical, and shot accuracy was the same. I just don't know how we didn't win that game, to be honest. And sort of a little rambly episode, but I guess sometimes it's quite good to do that and just sort of vent some things that I like to talk about. So that's going to be the end of the episode. If you enjoyed it, please give it a like. If you really loved it, please consider to subscribe. Thanks for watching, and peace.